hey Rock Hill, we have a member meeting coming up next Sunday, a week and a half from now, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to meet Dave Moe. So Dave is a candidate for elder at Rock Hill, and just wanted to shoot this brief video to let you guys know a little bit about his story and God's calling in his life. So good to have you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I know this isn't the same as sitting down, but many of you guys know Dave over the years. He's been here for a while, but Dave, would you just share a little bit of your story of coming to Christ?
Sure, yeah. Grew up in a Christian home, going to church consistently, pretty much every week. And I think if you were to ask my mom, she would say I came to know the Lord at a Carmen concert.
Oh, baby.
For those of you that know Carmen, I'm sorry. And so basically,
for those who know Carmen, they can't forget Carmen.
That's very true. Basically, I was afraid at one point in the concert. She asked me to pray a prayer. I prayed a prayer. So I think kind of always looked back at this prayer I prayed when I was like 6 as my salvation. So grew up, went to youth group, stayed involved in church even in college, and started dating a Christian girl. And after college, I got a job on a cruise ship, and was
doing music.
Doing music, yep.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I was playing on the cruise ship, and still dating this girl, and she had broke up with me. We had dated for like 2.5, 3 years, and yeah, it just really broke me at that time. You know, it was kind of something I thought was gonna be long term, and even in our relationship, we would talk about God, and I always thought I was a Christian. And so a couple weeks after that breakup, basically, a lot of things happened between then, but I basically was just searching for hope, searching for joy. I had always, always struggled with really being fully committed to Christianity, was how I would put it. And the biggest struggle I felt like was joy. It felt to me like there was a lot of non-Christians that I knew that seemed more joyful to me. So I was just really depressed for a couple weeks after she broke up with me. A couple weeks later, I checked Facebook. She had defriended me. I was pretty crushed, went back to my room by myself, and I just cried out to God. I actually prayed for the first time, probably genuinely ever, I would say, and just asked if he was real, that he would, kind of prove it, take this sadness away, and replace it with joy, and basically prayed that prayer, and that's what happened. It sounds weird to say it, but basically this weight or depression I had, I physically felt it leave, and it was gone, and I felt immense joy, all by myself in this dinky room on the ship. So yeah.
I'm sure the cruise ship rooms for staff are immaculate, right?
Right, yeah.
Huge and
and they're gigantic, right?
Yeah.
Enormous. So yeah, it was just incredible, a real conversion. I was super hungry for the Lord, new heart, new desires, all that. So yeah, that's kind of, I would say, in a nutshell, my testimony.
And we met shortly after that.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long.
Yep. Yeah, so I changed directions. I was going to try to pursue professional music, and I came back to Duluth. I started attending Rock Hill.
We were desperate for a drummer, and you happened to be a drummer. And
yeah.
How did you even find out about Rock Hill?
So my friends, Steve and Becky Gorhuber, they had recommended a new church plant to go attend it, and so I went with them. And the first Sunday I went, even before the service, I knew who was playing drums, and she asked me to play on the worship team. So I knew there was a need at that point, for that. And so I was looking at a way to serve that I could, and
those were way back in the Eastridge days.
Yep, it was at Eastridge.
We were a couple months in.
Mm-hmm.
So you know all of the iterations of Rock Hill, don't you?
Yeah, I think it was only 6 months in or something like that.
Yeah.
And I started going. So, and honestly, I just appreciated how you preach the word. I really appreciated that. Just going through books of the Bible. So that's kind of why I stuck there.
Yeah.
And stayed.
So we've known each other about 13, 14 years now.
Yeah.
13 years?
A long time. Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I would say something changed even in you. You knew the Lord. One thing I knew about you, you always had a hunger for His Word.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would often come in and, I'm reading through the Bible in 60 days,
Mm-hmm.
or I found this new teaching, not new in that it was unorthodox, but just this new preacher, and you've always had a hunger for the Word.
Yeah.
But just it seemed like something changed 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
You want to maybe just
Sure.
describe that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Yeah, basically, I think God was doing a work in my heart, my wife's heart at the time, just even for the lost, you know, and the neighbors and the people around us that didn't know the Lord, and also, yeah, just they basically, I think the Lord gave us both a heart to want to lead a small group, lead a city group here, and so we started doing that. And I think even as I started leading the city group, I loved it. I still do. I really love it a lot. Like, I love caring for the flock and the people that are in it, and I found a real joy in that, to be honest. So yeah, I think it was just a work of the Lord, just kind of softening our hearts to the lost and to the people in our midst, you know, the church, His bride.
Well, one of the things I've noticed over the years is you've often been a reluctant leader.
Yeah.
Right? You're not someone who just gravitates toward those things like right away, but I've also just seen God's hand in your life in a lot of ways. I think not just like leading music, which you do a great job. There's a lot of organization there that wasn't maybe as fun for you, but I think really you really come into your own kind of shepherding people, caring for people, leading groups, and so that has kind of led into a desire, a calling, a stirring to pursue being an elder.
Yeah.
You want to just kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so, yeah, like you mentioned, like 3-4 years ago, kind of a heart to lead a city group, and then I would say a couple years ago, maybe a couple years into being city group leaders, just felt like the Lord was kind of laying on my heart to pursue potential eldership, and kind of dismissed it in prayer times for a few months, actually. Then talked with my wife about it, and talked with Pastor Dave at the time about it as well. And so, yeah, he was like, well, why don't you just at least talk about it, maybe potentially go to meetings and stuff, see what it's like, get a taste of it, and see if it's the right fit, if the Lord's really calling you that way. So that's kind of like, I would say, at least the initial feeling was kind of through prayer, and then kind of affirming with Abby and maybe, you know, you and Dave and some other people too, just testing it out. So yeah, and I think too is like, I guess one thing that came to mind is like, as leading a city group and just like really caring for the flock, like I think almost in a way it helps prepare you for caring for the larger flock, right? The larger part of Rock Hill too. So definitely feel like the Lord gave me a heart for the bigger church as well in that.
Yeah, and so for about 1.5 years now, almost 2 years, you've been attending elder meetings.
Yeah.
Participating, but not necessarily an elder yet, just kind of an elder in training. We
Yeah.
walked through that book, Gospel Eldership, together by
Yeah.
Bob Thune, which is, every time I go through that, I'm
It's
challenged.
fantastic, yeah.
It's really good. What would you say to maybe someone who's feeling that stirring or that wrestling about maybe God's calling me to be an elder?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess what I'd say is just if the Lord's leading you that way, I would pursue it, you know. And I guess for myself, thinking about the process, I've just tried to be really open-handed about it. I don't want to pursue this if the Lord's not behind it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's necessarily a point to that. So, but yeah, I would say if you're interested, just talk to the pastors, talk to Kyle, talk to one of you guys, and just kind of pursue it and see what it entails, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think 1 Timothy 3 says, you know, if a man desires to be an elder, he desires a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? And yet, it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
It pays lousy, at least for you. I mean, I'm doing okay, but right? It really is a calling from the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, it's a burden that you take on joyfully.
Yeah.
But with that weight, there's process to that. You know, we don't put anyone in authority who hasn't been tested or isn't willing to be under authority.
Right.
But I also think it's a beautiful way to serve.
Yeah.
And pursue God's calling and to try to steward what God is doing here at Rock Hill.
Yeah, I would affirm that and agree with that, and I would just say, even just like in being in a lot of the meetings this last year and a half, just seeing like the leaders and the elders and the pastors process through tough situations, obviously this last year, and their heart for Christ and heart for Rock Hill has been really awesome, to be honest. I think I always thought it was like a lot of administrative stuff, which maybe it was in the past. There's like a governance team that does a lot of that now, but yeah, it's just been really cool to see everyone's heart for these guys really care. Let's just put it that way. You guys love the Lord, you love Jesus, and you love the bride. So it's been really cool to see.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's my privilege to put forward Dave Moe as an elder candidate. Hope you got to get to know him a little bit. I would joyfully serve with this man. And yeah, if you have any questions or want to chat with him further, you can get a hold of him.
Yeah.
He's around. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suppose you could just email or call or.
Because you love email, don't you?
Anything, yeah. I mean, come up to me on a Sunday morning or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally open. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for your time.